Welcome to the Virtual Millionaire Show, the ultimate destination for all things real estate investing. I'm your host, Michael McDonald, a real estate investor based out of Las Vegas, and I am on a mission to help you scale your real estate business. This podcast is designed to educate, motivate, and inspire you on your journey to becoming a virtual millionaire in the world of real estate. We bring to you experts from successful owners across the country who share actionable advice that you can implement immediately. Our goal is to equip you with the knowledge and tools needed to launch and grow your real estate investing business, paving the way for financial success. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Property Pros Marketing. Property Pros Marketing drives motivated seller leads directly to you through digital marketing. Check them out at propertyprosmarketing.com. Now, let's get started with another episode of the Virtual Millionaire Show. All right, so coming back to you with another episode, and I'm sitting here today with Dawson. Super impressed, man, just out of the gate here, but excited to introduce you and share your story because I think a lot of people are going to resonate with it today at a ripe young age of 21 years old. So kick it off. I always like to ask, tell us a little bit about you, who you are, and then how you found yourself diving into real estate at such a young age.
So my name is Dawson Skorczewski. I'm from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and we have our wholesaling and flipping business here. So basically how I got started in it was I was in college a couple of years ago, and I was a college baseball player and was going to accounting school, right? And obviously I figured out very quickly that it's not for me, right? So end of my high school career, I did couch flipping, right? So I killed it in the couch flipping game. And it was just more of a side hustle that I had going, and it turned into something a lot bigger. I did around 100 sectional couches that I bought and flipped it virtually and in when I was at home as well. So did that, and I was kind of coming up with more ideas how I can scale more of a higher income thing. And I came across wholesaling, probably just like everyone else does with social media, things like that. So then in college, pretty much what I did was I started basically cold calling out of my dorm room pretty much at least a couple hours a day off a dialer, and eventually finally got my first deal, and it kind of got me addicted at that point. So we're here now where we're now so far this year since January, we're doing over 60 deals so far this year, and probably going to hit that 100 mark and do 7 to 9 deals a month on average in this summer. So have 7 flips going on right now. But yeah, we've came a long way in the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, I would say, and that's super impressive. So when did you actually learn about real estate? Because it sounds like in college, you're 21 now, but
Yeah.
how long ago did you learn about this business?
Yeah, so I remember it was around November of 2021, I would say. So it was months after I graduated high school. So I was 18 at the time, and I just learned about it. Did my first deal right around when I turned 19. So, and I JV'd with another partner, did all that. And then I ended up doing a couple more after that. So it was more so just late 2021 that, you just obviously you're in that research phase for a little while, and then you start realizing, hey, I need to stop watching this stuff and actually take action here. So did that, and then it was around March of 22 that I contracted my first deal. I didn't close it till that summer, but
Okay,
that's kind of where it
cool.
was.
Okay, so just to give listeners like a reference point, where are you physically at now then? Are you in
Um,
Sioux Falls?
Yep. So live in Sioux Falls still. I was doing the deals. I was going to college in Sioux City, Iowa, actually at the time, and so was playing baseball. Really busy with all that stuff, so only had like an hour or two to call every day. So did that, and then it pretty much excelled once I did that deal with that JV. Then it helped a little bit to come back out here and do it.
I bet you're really happy you learned about wholesale real estate now at this point,
Oh,
right?
really happy, really happy. I mean, because right away, everyone has those down times where you don't know if it's real, you don't know if it actually works until you get that first actual. You talk to your first real motivated seller and actually do your first deal. It's super important because then you realize that this is actually something that's worth it. So that
Yeah.
once I had the first one, I was hooked. So.
It's addicting, man. And I
hmm
remember thinking the same thing. And what I love about your story is like you were going to college to have a degree in accounting. And then
yeah,
you shifted after you realized that, hey, this is exponential. Maybe accounting, not only do I maybe not love it, but it's probably going to generate the financial security that I want for myself, right? For you.
right.
And you took the leap of faith rather than looking at this and saying, oh, this is too good to be true,
Mm,
because a lot of people might see that online. Like they hear you and
right.
me talking and they're like, wait a second, you can assign a property and make 10, 20, $30,000.
Right.
It's hard to fathom that. For the listeners out there, I think just follow Dawson, follow podcasts, listen, just get information, because you just never know like how life-changing this business is going to be for you until you actually dive into it. But I know it's not always like that straightforward when you're first starting. So can we talk about that? Like obviously there's a transgression that takes place from
Hmm.
learning about it to actually implementing and taking action and then getting deals. So what did that
Hmm.
look like for you? You were in college.
Hmm.
How long did it take you, and what did that actually look like to get your first deal? Were there some lessons that you learned on that first deal?
Oh, 100%. So the first thing I would like to say about getting your first deal, I mean, there is a point in your time where you can research all you want, you can watch all the YouTube videos you want, but it's not going to get you closer to getting your first deal. It's actually going to be doing what it requires, the stuff that no one likes doing, right? And I think that's where people go wrong in the beginning is they do the sexy stuff. They go to the masterminds, which is great. Don't get me wrong, those are just fine. They go to the masterminds, they watch the YouTube videos, they hang out with the people, they go to the meetups, they go to all the right things, but then what they're supposed to be doing they don't do, right? The cold calling, in the beginning, I mean, the cold calling and door knocking foreclosures and all that stuff, what you should be doing that everyone hates doing that actually gets the deals, no one's doing. So I think once you realize that right away, that's where you're going to have success, is just understanding, okay, as many YouTube videos as I watch, it's not going to get me anywhere closer. Every single cold call and every single door knock is what's going to get me closer. And I think
Yep.
that's the most important thing to realize, and it's a matter of commitment, right? And some people, it takes longer than others to get their first deal, but I think it's a matter of how willing are you to commit, right? I've seen people get their first deal in 2 weeks. And obviously that wasn't me, but I've seen people who got their deal in first 2 weeks because what all they did was they straight up were like, okay, all I need to do is drive for dollars, find this crappy property around my city, they called me. Oh, okay, let's JV on this. That's literally all this kid did. 14 grand in a matter of 2 weeks. And that was his JV. So it was a
And then
28K fee.
boom, proof of
Yeah.
concept, your life changes all of a sudden.
Exactly, exactly, and I think it was just a matter of why they got there so quick was just a matter of commitment. They called, and they made the time all day to call, and that's all they did. They didn't watch the YouTube videos, they didn't do all this, and I think it's just the matter of commitment is what that transition period looks like to getting that first deal. It's just a matter of when you sit down and you look yourself in the mirror and say, "Hey, I'm not gonna get anywhere else until I actually make the calls and do the door knocks, even though it sucks. No one likes doing it. It's horrible. Once you get that first deal, you'll enjoy doing it after that, I promise. So
It's addicting for sure.
mhm,
And you make such a good point, because a lot of people, they do find themselves busy, right? Busy
right,
watching content, busy working on business cards, busy doing whatever. But at the
right,
end of the day, it's simply input and output. And a lot
mhm,
of people, they listen to a podcast like this and they're like, oh man, he's done 60, 70 deals this year. Like
mhm.
he must just be living it up on it, sitting around having fun, not working. But a lot of times what I find from interviewing people like yourself is the complete opposite. Like
Yeah,
the
mhm,
schedule's packed, you're productive,
yeah,
you're getting after it, and that's what it takes. And so
mhm,
for somebody who's listening to this who might be like, "Well, I would love to do 60 to 100 deals a year. That
mhm,
sounds great. I would love to not make all the calls." Well, you don't have to forever.
mhm,
You have to learn how to do it first by yourself, but
right,
then you can start to, hey, put this process together, hire somebody to make the calls, and then you're just working on the highest best use of your thing, which is going to
mhm,
be structuring deals, raising money, whatever the
mhm.
case may be for you.
Exactly, and that's a great point that you bring up as far as that realm of things is delegating your time as well. Because I think for us, I mean, yeah, we've done 60 deals or we're doing 60 deals so far already this year and have multiple flips and all that stuff going on. But yeah, we have delegated a lot of our stuff. But what it took right away was to actually do it yourself, and then you know exactly how to do it. So training people is very easy because you're literally just like, hey, watch me do this, and then you train them over time, obviously. But I think that's super important, is because for us, we only spend 3,500 bucks a month in marketing roughly per month. And so it's one of those things where doing that many deals per month at such a low margin, it's a very high profit. And the reason for that is because we did the stuff ourselves and we were able to cheaply delegate it after that. Because I think a lot of people make that mistake as well in this business is they, which is marketing is great, but this business is marketing and sales. That's what it is. I mean, it just
100%.
happens to be real estate. I mean, you could do this with anything, but it's just a matter of finding leads, which is the biggest thing, and then obviously closing on them and finding the right cash buyers and selling them to other cash buyers. That's literally what it is. And so I think with that, a lot of people, too many people, are delegating their actual business to other people, to agencies and things like that, where obviously they hire these automated cold callers, they hire all this stuff. But I think it's so important to do it yourself and understand what it is, how to actually get better at it, what works and what doesn't. And then you find what works well for you, especially in your city, like we did ours. Delegate it, and then now you have a lifetime lead asset of a funnel. For an example, for us, $3,500 a month. But if we were to do all the stuff that we do now and delegate it to other people to handle it for us, I mean, you're talking 20, 25 grand a month. So
Easily.
that's what's, yeah, and that's what's so important to understand this business is stretching your profits and having your own in-house team, I think is super important.
Yeah, you make such a good point, and I'd like to dive
Hmm.
into that because when you say $3,500 a month, and then I hear the number of deals,
Hmm.
obviously I haven't asked you yet, like how those deals look. Obviously, you're
Right.
wholesaling and flipping, so I think
Hmm.
that would be like the next part where I want to go here is how many wholesales to flips are you doing, and has flipping been challenging? Has it changed your business for the better? Has it been tough? Because I'm asking you this because I see a lot of people have a lot of success wholesaling, and that's like their
Hmm.
bread and butter, but then they
Hmm.
grab a flip or 2, and then all of a sudden, like, the whole train stops. And
Hmm.
so how's your experience been with that, and what percentage of wholesales versus flips are you doing, you think?
Right, that's a great question. So right now, percentage of wholesales to flips, we're doing around 90% wholesale and
Nice.
10% flipping. And reason being is because there's a lot of properties that we come across that simply we're just not fit to rehab. I mean, we don't have
Too
the
big.
crews, don't have, it's too big. It's, 40, 50, 60 grand rehabs, right? That's just not our bread and butter. We know what we're good at, and we know that obviously that would take too much time out of our hands where we could get another few more deals from the time that we have to make up for that easily, right? With a lot less time and a lot less stress, promise you. So, and,
Yeah.
and with that, so our bread and butter is a lot of wholesale and a lot of very minimal flips 5, 10, 15, 20 grand max, maybe even 25 if you're lucky. But that's where we sit as far as flips, absolute home runs. We take them down with cash, commercial loan, whatever the case may be. And if we even put very light rehab in them and then sell them after, those are our type of flips, absolute home runs. And the reason I think where maybe some people will go wrong in getting a flip is because first of all they don't really have the systems to delegate it. That's where me and my business partner do very well is he's delegated, he knows his position and I know mine. We do our things and this is our task and this is what we're supposed to do. And I think so he manages all the flips as far as the projects and everything like that. So that's what I think also works really well is no time is getting wasted right out of what we're supposed to be doing. And second, we're not taking on dumb projects that are going to take up too much time for what you get in return.
Such great advice, man, and I'm really happy for you that you didn't have to learn a lesson that a lot of people just simply have to learn. And I was joking with somebody the other day, I was like, "Man, how many times does it take to learn the lesson?" And some guys, they just keep flipping houses forever and take on these
Right.
massive projects and they see these
Mhm.
huge dollar signs, but then at the end of the day, after getting burned and project taking
Mhm.
6 months longer, all of a sudden they didn't make any money. And it's like,
Exactly.
why would I ever do that again? But
Right.
sometimes it happens, and
Mhm.
thankfully for you, you were smart enough to recognize, like, "Hey, that's not, like, our business model," and
Right.
here's what's even better, I don't know if you guys heard this, a lot of people who have partners, I was talking to a guy today about this, they don't define what their role is
Mhm.
specifically, and they catch themselves running into each other, like, "Oh, I'm gonna call the contractor today and get the clean out,"
Mhm.
or whatever, right? Versus, "No, this is my role, this is what I'm gonna do." So, you guys have defined that, and that is just, dude, like, super impressive, at such a
Right.
young age, so you're
Right,
killing
and
it.
I think yeah, and I think what works so well with our partnership, and it's also something to keep in mind, don't just grab any partner. Don't just grab your
Yeah,
best buddy and say, "Hey, let's go into business together."
yeah,
That partner has to bring something to the table as far as what they're good at is something that you shouldn't be good at, right? Find what you're not good at and find a partner that is good at it, right? Like
yep,
a hard one for me right away was dispoing deals and actually understanding the game of real estate. I was great at getting leads, great at building systems, great at all that stuff. right? And my business partner, he was great at understanding the market, great at understanding on how to dispo deals and all that stuff and actually do flips and do that stuff. I didn't understand it. And that was something where when we came into partnership, because he was on the same boat, he's like, dude, all that sales funnel, all this, I don't understand that. Like, I think we'd work great together. And I was like, agreed. Then you do a few deals together and we're like, this works out very well. So we're good. So I think that's important too. Looking into partnerships, it's super important on who it is. It shouldn't always be your best friend. It should be somebody who's better at you than something that you're not, simply.
Super, super true. And
Hmm.
personality type has a lot to do with that, right?
Right.
What I've found, especially in this business, is acquisitions personality is going to
Hmm.
be a lot different than the dispositions personality because who are you speaking to? You got to be more
Exactly.
emotionally sentimental with a seller
Mm.
versus maybe an investor who says, "Show me the numbers," right?
Exactly.
Just what's the deal here? It's a
Hmm.
different conversation. So Sioux Falls, Sioux City,
Hmm.
right? Is that your markets right now? Is that where you're mostly doing business at?
We do just Sioux Falls. That's it. So Sioux
Just Sioux
Falls,
Falls.
South Dakota. That's all we do our deals, and obviously surrounding areas like Brandon, Harrisburg, T. So just surrounding suburb areas, but just
Okay.
in this metro market. Hmm.
Okay. So what blows my mind is the amount of deals and the fact that you're only spending that little on marketing. So let's talk about that.
Right.
What does that look like? Obviously, those are impressive numbers. So I want to hear about it.
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely. So our marketing is very minimal cost. And we did this strategically, obviously, from what I talked about before, is doing it yourself and delegating it. So I started with cold calling and then got on the dialer. So then I got on the dialer, got my first few deals doing straight cold calling on a dialer. Okay. So then I figured that out, had a VA start cold calling, hired them. Now they're on their own. Started up cold texting, right? So we still do cold texting, even though laws kind of vary. There's you got to work your ways around it nowadays compared to when I started it, but I have a VA now who does texting and stuff like that as well, and she does cold call as well, so it's like a multi-purpose, right? So then I have that, so then a completely outbound have that skilled out, so now I have all my time free, right? So now I'm spending $3.50 an hour for these VAs who have been with me now. I have the same VAs that started with me, right, for 2 years, so
Where do you hire
they're
from? Where,
just off of Facebook groups. So there's multiple Facebook groups you can go to. There's one called Cold Callers and Closers. If you go in there and say, "Hey, this is the business I'm trying to hire a VA in," all this, that, yada yada yada, and you will get multiple comments, DMs, and you will easily fill a calendar full of interviews if that's what you want to do. But
accent wise, because I know I'm a Midwest guy, right? I
me too.
know
Yep.
there's a difference even between Nebraska and Sioux City, or excuse me, Sioux Falls. I keep saying Sioux City.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
a big difference even just there, but like let alone in
Absolutely.
Las Vegas to
Hmm.
Sioux Falls. So
Yeah.
what about the accent? What is there an accent? Where are they based out of? Philippines? Where at?
Yeah, so those VAs, they're based out of the Philippines. Obviously, right away, you can tell there is a little bit of slang they don't understand right away. I mean, because right now they're from the Philippines. They're both female and they do fantastic. Like,
I
it's
love it.
something where they're to the point where if you had a conversation with them, you could tell a little bit, okay, they're not from here,
Sure.
but they do very well in a conversation. Obviously, doing it for 2 years, they got pretty good at it, right? And
Yeah.
obviously, training them the way I want to. But yeah, they are from the Philippines. They very little accent now, and it's something where obviously in the hiring process that was a big factor right away, was not only the work ethic and being able to show up and do all that stuff, but it was a matter of having that original accent where it wasn't as obvious, if that makes sense. So
Makes
that was a big one for us. Hmm.
So then from there they get the person interested, they pass it off to the closer, or do they set up an appointment?
Yep. So kind of the way we have it set up is they pretty much will get, I guess, a motivated seller. We have like it'd be most of the time it's me who calls them and I pretty much set the appointment, talk with them about their situation, get all the details in our CRM, everything like that, set the appointment. My business partner goes in that appointment, takes it completely from there. So
I love
it's
it.
he goes in the appointment, deals with the contracts, the transactional coordinating, as well as extending, okay, we have a deal here, how can we extend this and how can we squeeze the most water out of the stone here that's most valued of our time, right? So that's kind of where the phases go. So I pretty much do all the lead management, all the follow-ups, and also set all of the appointments, and then he goes on all of them. And
Good.
I think, yeah, so as far as the business model goes, to answer your question, with like comparing to the Philippines and how it would relate to South Dakota, right? Because they obviously don't sound like they're from here.
Right.
What I've always said is a motivated seller is not ever going to care,
They don't
right?
care.
If they're actually motivated, they will give you what you need to know, and they'll actually be interested in selling, right? We actually had a cold caller lead that we locked up actually yesterday, and it was one where the guy was pretty much, he was like, "Yeah, I'm interested in selling. I just bought a house." And then they're like, "Okay, what do you want for it?" He's like, "Oh, 200,000." Right? We just locked it up yesterday for 80,000. So
I'm not
that's the
surprised.
right, exactly, because they won't take them as serious. But if they're motivated and you actually call them and say, "Hey, what's going on?" and they talk to a guy like me who's actually from
That's
here,
right.
all of that just drops. They're like, "Oh my gosh, actually, yeah, I need to get this done really fast." Like the whole script flips, and you're like, "Whoa, what happened here?" So
Yeah.
you'd be very shocked, and a real motivated seller will talk to him. So,
That's really good advice, and it's
hmm
100% true. And it's hard for listeners to fathom this, right?
hmm
Asking price means nothing if the motivation exists.
right,
So, you just have to be able to have a further conversation, which is you processing that lead, and then to solidify it, because let's face it, South Dakota, they're probably more handshake type of people. So they're going to
absolutely,
want to shake your Caden's hand.
hmm
And now the trust is like at the highest level because I've met
100%.
this guy, I know he's real, and I feel comfortable to sell them the house. Now let's talk about, so that's one aspect, right? That's more
hmm
outbound. Before I forget though, I want to ask you, what's the system that you're using for in texting, or for texting more specifically, because it's pretty regulated right now.
Right, right. So there's a lot of ways you can do texting. Right now, I'm using launch control. I have a lot of people who are using different ones like REI Reply and other things like that are doing pretty well as well. But for a while there, 6 months ago, it came up with a huge issue. So like we just got back on the texting because it was a big problem. So but
Gotcha.
now like softwares like launch control, REI Reply, and all these others have done a very good job of, now it's starting to get more back regulated again. So it's, for some reason, it went through a really hard phase where we
Th-
originally thought, we're like, texting is dead. Oh my gosh.
Dead.
Like we were at the point where we were trying to make our own software, and they were like, dude, the regulations are so hard. Like it wouldn't even make sense for you to do it. We're like, okay, well, we're screwed. So, but then
Yeah.
it ended up coming out of its shell. So right now we use launch control, and then cold calling, we use ready mode, the old style ready mode. So
Okay.
we just like it. It's very bare bones, but you can program it to do what you want. It's very tech specific. So that's what we like about it.
I love it. Well, talk about just riding the waves, right?
hmm
You got shut down, but you recognize, hey, this is normal again. So we're going to
hmm
get back into it. And I feel like for the people who are willing to like see these things through, those are the
Yeah.
ones who are going to crush it, because I don't know if you were in the business in 2008. Is that, you probably weren't in the business yet at that point?
No,
That's
no.
when I got started, and dude, texting was like shooting fish in a barrel. Like,
Right.
there was no competition, and
Mhm.
I know a guy here in Las Vegas who was just killing it, like millions of dollars of in just deals in texting. But
Right.
he was texting, he got the entire data of the entire city, right? Texted
Mhm.
everybody.
Mm.
So, anyway, what about your brand? So, that's a big part of what you do too, right? So, you've got
Yep.
the outbound, but like now the credibility comes in.
Mhm.
So, what's that look
Right.
like?
So we have a lot of inbound funnels as far as what we do. We have a few main ones, but some of the more unique ones. So a big one for us is organic SEO. That's a huge one in building a brand that gets a lot of our deals, and we get probably the best leads from it for the cheapest. That's our favorite one, marketing channel by far. Also, we do put bandit signs in all of our deals. We've worked out with all of our buyers to put bandit signs in the front yards of while they're doing all the projects. That's a
Whoa.
huge one for us because basically it's people who, like you said, in South Dakota, it's more of a handshake. And the way we like to look at it, everyone has a different way of marketing that they love, right? Some people love to text, some people love to answer a phone call, some people like to just look up on Google and figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
But some also people love to look at the guy down the yard who slipped in the house, be like, "Hey, you buy houses?" "Yeah, we do." So
Yeah.
that's another big piece of marketing that you'd be very surprised. $150 with the bandit signs goes very quick for us, but it's something where buy 20, 25 of these bandit signs and try to make a deal maybe with investors, depending on who it is. We have great relationships with our guys, but if you put them in the front yard, we're probably going to do, I mean, around 5 to 10 deals this year just on bandit signs. It's crazy. So that's another inbound channel that we have.
How
We
did you
run a
work that out? I gotta ask, like, what's the deal
right.
with the cash buyers? Tell me that arrangement.
Right. So literally all we were like was, "Hey, we have these signs. Literally says I buy houses. We will put it in there for you. We'll take no time out of your hands. And all it's going to do is bring in more deals for
For you.
you.
Mm,
Whoever calls on your sign, we ask them where it was, and then you have first dibs." And they're
I
like,
love it.
"Why wouldn't I?" right?
Yeah.
So that's exactly how it was. So we do that for pretty much all of our deals. And so we
Smart.
do that. And then we also run a tad little bit of PPC, but not really a huge issue there. Google My Business gets a lot of phone calls. But then otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much our main bones of marketing. Otherwise, another huge one for us is foreclosures. We also do a lot of foreclosures as well, pre-foreclosure that is. We buy properties at auction as well, but we do a lot of pre-foreclosure just because we have access to the attorney's office that does a lot of the foreclosures in the city. We're in kind of cahoots with them and we get information a lot earlier than everyone does. So we
Nice.
have kind of that head start on door knocking these people and texting them, calling family members, and pretty much any foreclosure in this area. We probably spoke with them or know about the situation and pretty much decide from there. Because even if the judgment is too high or all the liens stack up for more than the property's worth, you at least saw the property and you can go buy it at auction if that's an option for you. So
Yeah.
that's a lot of our big deal there is just pretty much SEO, Bandit signs, foreclosures, all of our outbound stuff. And then we've sent mail. We send probably mail like 2 or 3 times a year. And pretty much what's kind of unique about that as well is we make all of our mailers look just like our Bandit signs. And that's
Nice.
it. It's an every door direct mail. We don't make it specific to your address. We don't do anything like that. We literally just send it for what it looks exactly like our Bandit sign. And we put it in there like with a point and seen these around town, right? Because it
Oh,
makes it
I
so
love that.
local. We actually just got a deal last month from a mailer that was like, yeah, I kept driving around town and I saw you guys. And I was like, gosh, she's okay. So these guys actually are real, right? And I think that's a big thing is because if they have seen one in their neighborhood or have seen it around, because we have a ton out there right now, then it builds that credibility. We're like, oh, these guys actually are in my area and actually do stuff. So that was like a big thing for us. So it's more than just a mailer. It's more than just catching them at the right time. It's more of a credibility in that point, right? So that's a big part for us as well.
Dude, I love that. And have you
Hmm.
found that sometimes it's just better not to be too fancy, especially with the demographic
Yes.
we work with? So if I heard you correctly, you said I buy houses and then a phone number. That's it.
That's it. So it's a bright yellow sign that literally in black says I buy houses and a phone number, and that's it.
Doesn't
And
put your website, nothing. Just
nothing.
keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Nothing to do with our branding, nothing to do with our website, who we are, anything. Not sexy at all. But I tell you what, those things get calls because we have other people that we know that put Bandit signs out in town. And we've told them, like, yeah, we got these deals from Bandit signs. And you believe that? And they're like, how do you get so many calls? We're like, because we don't make it fancy, easy
Yeah.
to see. And everyone knows in that area, oh, these guys buy houses. Like they know for sure.
I did the same thing, Dawson, when I
Hmm.
first got started, and
Yeah.
it said exactly that. I buy
Hmm.
houses, big yellow sign, and then I'd be
Hmm.
driving around town looking at other people's bandit signs, and I'd see like all this fancy stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
how does anybody even read this? First of all, and why would anybody call this? Because it's too much.
Right. Right. It's just a lot. They have their website logo, make it fancy colors, and oh, we buy houses as is with bullet points. And I'm like, what the hell are we doing? We just make it simple,
You buy
and you'll get
houses.
10 times the call. It's just people like simplicity because you got to think of that demographic too. Some people who maybe look up a website and look up, they might want a fancy website. They might want the good looking stuff. But you got to think of the demographic of who's going to call a Bandit sign is somebody's son down the street who their dad just went to a nursing home, right? Like that's the type of demographic you're dealing with. So make it simple, right? They don't want the fancy stuff. They want the local guy down the street if that's who they're calling. So,
100%.
mhm.
Okay, so those are all great pieces of advice for the marketing.
Yeah.
Now, with regards to like I heard you say Google My Business, there's some
Hmm.
SEO involved with this side of your business, right? So what
Right.
are you guys doing that would be different from other people? Start to rank your website because Google My Business is one aspect, but you can't just
Mhm.
open up a website and expect to all of a sudden get a ton of calls. So how are you
Right.
different than somebody who goes and buys a carrot site and
Hmm.
says, "I'm in business, but nobody's calling. What's
Yeah.
up with this?"
Yeah, because I think the main thing is just understanding Google's game, right? Google's game is to find the most relevant and credible website to rank for a certain keyword. That's literally its entire job. And that's why they make so much money is because they're very good at doing that, right? And they have rules and restrictions on what they like to see and what they don't want to see. And if you just play the game correctly, it's very easy to get ranked your website. So, for example, for Sell My House Fast, Sioux Falls, we rank at the top, right? And for all other keywords, and there's a reason for that. Now, for all those keywords, we just made our site simply relevant and credible to those keywords, right? And that's what Google wants to see because that's why people pay so much for advertising and that's how they make so much money, right? So they want to see the people who are going to work hard get it up there. Now, with SEO, the way to make that relevant, there's a lot of different ways. You have to find, okay, what does Google want to see in the page? I mean, what's the keyword density as far as what your competitors are doing. And that's in my opinion is the most important part of SEO is seeing, okay, where are my competitors doing and what is going on in their webpage. And I think once you learn how to analyze their webpage and see what works well for them, because every SERP is different. SERP, as in search engine results page, is different. So Semi House Fast Sioux Falls is going to be different for Semi House Fast Las Vegas, right?
Yep.
It's going to be different because these top three websites in Las Vegas are ranking with this, but in Sioux Falls, they're ranking with this. So once you understand, like, okay, this is what Google likes for this keyword, I can plan my attack here and actually make a website correctly to get it ranked instead of making just a website, putting it out there cookie cutter like Carrot. But don't get me wrong, Carrot's great. I think their tool is awesome. I use Carrot for all of my stuff, but it's something that you got to understand. We can't just make a website and hope that it's going to get out there. You have to understand what your competitors are doing and how to actually get it up there correctly.
Yeah, because they don't like duplicate content. So
Right.
that's the one thing that we recognize after everybody knew about Carrot was that,
Hmm.
oh, we can't just keep it that way because otherwise it's going to be just the same and Google's going to penalize people who have all of the same duplicate content.
Exactly.
So what do you do about that? Are you writing blogs? Are you customizing website or what exactly are you doing about that?
Right, that's a great question. So pretty much what I do is I don't really write very many blogs. I don't do any of that stuff. It's mainly just setting up and structuring your website properly. And by that, I mean however you're going to do it, right? Some people like to attack their main market by the homepage, right? And this gets very specific, so bear with me here. But like for us with our website, we attack our main market with our homepage, right? Because all of our other competitors are doing that as well, right? So it's very hard to rank a page, for example, that is maybe a sub page. So it says 123buymyhouse.com slash Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? And they're trying to attack Tulsa where all the Tulsa competitors are ranking on their homepage. So they're
Hmm.
going to have more power there. That's another thing. You got to structure your website properly to understand, okay, all of my competitors are using home pages. So I have to optimize this page, for example, Las Vegas, right? I have to optimize this page just for this SERP, right? And that's another important thing to understand. Google ranks pages, not domains, right? They rank each individual page that you have because they rank them that way to find the most relevancy for each SERP, right? So when you see these other companies out there with multiple location pages, for example, like Zillow, right? They don't rank number one on every single location. It's just because Google happens to see maybe realtor.com in this in maybe Las Vegas ranks a little bit higher than Zillow just because it sees just a little bit more relevancy and credibility, right? So they rank every single page different. So like for us, we make our main website our main market, right? Our top level page, our money page, I like to call it. And so our home page is in Sioux Falls, and then the surrounding cities rank well as well because our competitors are using more location pages in those cities, right? So that's another thing to understand is we got to structure it properly, got to see what our competition is doing, and then from there make relevant content, right? And that gets very deep dive. This is where it gets
Yep.
very specific. We get into keywords. Now we get into entities. We get into LSI keywords. We get into keyword density and all this stuff, right? That is where it gets very difficult, but with some trial and error, it's pretty simple. Like it took me a long time to understand and learn the game to get my website very high. It took me probably close to a year to understand and how to actually get my website to rank. And then once I learned, they always say you don't pay a plumber to bang on pipes. You pay them because they know where to bang, right?
Yep.
And that's
Exactly.
that. Once you learn that factor, it's like okay, now I know where actually to hit the pipes here. Then it was very efficient after that. So
So
that's
good.
kind of the
And
yeah.
and I love this, right? I know
Hmm.
listeners right now might be like, "Whoa, this is a lot of
Yeah.
information." But guys, this is what it takes to master a craft.
Hmm.
And if you could go spend, I don't know, $3,500 a month and do 60 deals a year, you probably want to learn how to do that, right? So
Right.
you could definitely go figure this stuff out yourself. But I do know that you help other people with their websites as well, right? So can you talk a little bit about that? So don't try to figure it out yourself if you have somebody like Dawson who could kind of take that shortcut for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I help real estate investors across the country with SEO. I mean, across the country, meaning in all real estate investors, they wholesale, flip, even some realtors, right? And so it's mainly just them. My pitch is this: it's something where I'm not going to sit here and tell you, hey, like you have to have a website, use me to do it. By all means, if you want to figure it out yourself, because it costs us, $100 a month to run this website, that's going to probably make us 250K this year, right? And so it's something that is the most cost efficient and also the best lead generation asset I could ever come up with. And I think the reason why it is because so many people negate it, right? So many people are like, that's too hard. That's it just takes too much time. It's more of a long-term game. Well, in this business, in my opinion, having a long-term game is what's going to make you win. And
Yeah.
I think for me, is obviously it took me a year to learn how to make a website. If you want to do that, go ahead and do it. There's a lot of people out there on YouTube that'll tell you how to do it. But with my company, what it is basically we help you work basically like a do with you model. So we basically work with the real estate investor to get their website up the way they want it. I have my own in-house designer that'll design it for you. And pretty much we have I have my team in the background that does all the backlinks as well. Just because I have a marketing agency here in town that I do other industries for as well. Lawn care, wedding venues, carpet cleaning. I've done them all, right? And so I understand SEO as a whole through all industries. So it's something with obviously me starting in the real estate world, that's kind of where I'm attacking right now is just real estate investors and understanding, okay, your time is valued by finding deals, right? Let me save you a year of time. And now you're spending 3 hours to get this set up and instead of a year of time, right? And obviously with the marketing agency, they're going to charge you a very high monthly thing. They're going to lock you up in a contract for a year. That's an option with us if you want to do that, right? But with our program, it's kind of where we work do with you, right? We get the website set up, and if it's something you're like, hey, I don't want to manage this myself. Yeah, rather have you manage it. Perfect. We have a very low monthly payment that we simply just charge for just management, and that's it. So it's a very win model because easily with your first deal, you pay me off completely and you now have a lifetime lead generation asset. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And
mhm,
by the way, guys, I've done a ton of SEO for our business as well.
mhm,
And especially early on when you don't have the funds to go run TV commercials or run radio ads or
yeah,
send out tens of thousands of mailers, this is like the best way for the long game.
mhm.
And what's your website called? How do people learn more about that?
Yeah, so it's called houseflipseo.com, and pretty much in there, it just talks about kind of what the process is like. Because, like I said before, if we end up working together, it's something where I make it very easy for people. I'm not going to lock you up in a high contract. We're going to get your website set up, get it ranked, and then from there, we work out something for what your needs are, right? And so it's something where you could easily pay me off. I have now a lifetime lead generation asset for $100 a month, and I think even Carrot's $89 a month right now. So
It is.
$89 a month to make you 250K next year and do an extra 20, 30, 40 deals next year, in my opinion, is very worth it. And I think everyone can agree with that.
I would 100% agree. And I
Hmm.
can tell you the SEO deals that we get are some of our best deals. And
Right.
it's because it was like, hey, I saw you online. I looked at your website. I know everything
Hmm.
about you. I
Hmm.
like you. I trust you.
Hmm.
Here's what I want done. They're
Hmm.
the easiest deals to close.
Hmm.
And here's the best part $89 a month or whatever it is, like that's not tens of thousands, is pretty
Hmm.
much an infinite return in this business as far as I'm concerned. Because
Literally.
that's the way I look at SEO is it
Hmm.
didn't cost us really anything and it's
Hmm.
bringing us in $40,000 deal. It's insane.
Right. Right. Because I know my second lead I ever got from Carrot from SEO was a $25,000 deal. Filled out a form. Of course, for those type of leads, you drop everything, right? So I
Yep.
called them right away. Called them right away. Speed to lead, baby. And so then we got a
Yeah.
hold of them. She's like, "Yeah, come over right now. This is what I want. This is the situation. I need to get rid like now, right? Perfect. Go over there. Business partner goes over there, locks it up. 8 hours later, we assigned it for a $25,000 wholesale fee, right?
Boom.
8 hours, right? And then the third lead we ever got was and I like to talk about this one because this is the power of SEO, was a lead from the daughter of a family who lived in Taiwan, right?
Hmm.
And they had this house in Sioux Falls that it's been sitting there for a year or two because they went back because they're from Taiwan, moved here, their kids went to school here, got a good education, and still live here. But then once their kids were off on their own, they're like, all right, see ya. Went back to Taiwan, right? And they finally called their daughter, was like, we're ready to get rid of this thing. It's got a lot of stuff in it. We can't list it. This is hard to do. So they called us, and that was a $33,000 wholesale fee. And so
Sure.
that was the third lead we ever got. So in a matter of 3 leads, we did close to 60 grand. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. At $89 a month, you can't complain.
Wait a second. You can make that big of deals in Sioux Falls? I didn't know that existed. Tell me more about that. Are you closing those types of deals regularly, or are those just like your good SEO deals, or how consistent are your wholesale averages? I mean, are you hitting some
Right.
pretty? saw deals like that?
Oh yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
curious
I
for
mean, it's
myself, but I'm smiling because I laugh at people who say there's no money to be made in Sioux Falls. There's no money to be made in Nebraska, right?
right.
And it's like
Right.
there's money to be made, but
Everywhere.
what are you
Hmm.
doing about it?
Right, because Sioux Falls is a 250,000 person metro market,
It's like
right? It's not
Lincoln.
too small, but yeah, it's just like Lincoln, Nebraska. I mean, where you're from too. So very relatable. But it's something where I promise you, if you double down, there's nothing wrong with like virtually wholesaling either. But I know it worked well for us. We doubled down on our market, and let's get really good at Sioux Falls. And once we come the best at Sioux Falls, and it's still not working, okay, then we have an excuse, right?
Yeah,
Well, we became the best, and now we're doing 7 to 10 deals a month. It's like, okay, this is pretty good, right? So
yeah.
it's you'd be shocked at how many people that I know as well who are doing deals in 100,000 person markets. But deals like that, like I just spoke about, happen often, right? And it's something where once you become the best at it and you're known, because you'd be shocked at how many referral deals we get even too, just from doing deals over time. We probably do 5 to 10 a year of people who straight referrals, right? Oh my gosh, I know. Oh, this person I know, they bought my dad's house. They were awesome to work with, right?
Yeah.
That like literally stuff like that. Power of building a brand in such a, I should say a small area, but it is. It's smaller than Las Vegas. I know that. So
Yeah.
that's the power of that too. So it's just building such a big brand that everyone in that space knows that these are the guys, right? And you'll do plenty of deals, I promise.
It's powerful. It's credibility, it's authority, and it compounds like crazy. And
Hmm.
you're experiencing that early on, which is incredible, man. Definitely impressed, Dawson. I'd love to keep diving in, but we definitely
Right.
are running a little bit short on time here. So
Hmm.
to wrap this up, be thinking about, you know, you'd like to leave listeners with first. But before we get to that, what's next, man? You're helping real estate investors with SEO.
Hmm.
You're closing 70 plus deals a year. I mean, it's really impressive and crazy if you think about it.
Hmm.
So what's next for you? Where are you heading next?
Right. So a passion that I came across, and that's the love of real estate, is you do a lot of these things yourself and you learn a lot. Well, for me, SEO was something that I just clicked to, and I loved it so much, and it worked so well for me that it's something that I do for other real estate investors. Because one, yeah, it does great, and it's very scalable. It's a very scalable thing, and a great business model, as well as all the real estate investors that I work with. I mean, it's crazy how much it changes their business completely, right?
Yeah,
And that's what I love so much about it. It's a win for everybody. So that's what's next for me. Is doing SEO for other real estate investors across the country, because it's something where in our real estate business, they're wholesaling and flipping. We're pretty tapped out as far as where we want to go with actually doing the business, right? We're always going to do business here in Sioux Falls, but we just like to keep it like that, right? We even do stuff, across the state, but right now we just understand that virtual wholesaling just isn't our game. We just understand where, like I said, what our roles are and where we do best. And for me right now, my next step is doing SEO for multiple other real estate investors across the country, like I already am. But
I love it, man.
yeah.
Uh, awesome. So any last thoughts that you'd like to leave listeners with here today?
Yeah, right now, the one thing I just want to leave to listeners, no matter if you're a beginner, you've already done 10 deals, 20, 30 deals already, just commit. Just seriously, just commit as far as what you're supposed to be doing, right? In committing, I mean, don't just commit to just anything, commit to what you've been putting off, because that's what's going to get you your first deal. It's what's going to get you your 10th deal, your 100th deal, and 200th deal, is doing what you didn't want to do right away, but you pushed through it, you committed. It's just like with the fact of when I was in college, I committed an hour every day with all the homework, with all the baseball I had, with all the whatever I had going on, right? With classes, all that stuff. I committed 1 hour a day no matter what. I'm doing this. I'm cold calling, right? I never broke it. And I think that's a reason where I am at today, because the ability to commit and do what I'm saying I'm going to do, right? And I think that's what everyone has to do in order to succeed, is just literally say, I'm going to do this. And this is what a reasonable goal is here. Call an hour a day, and I think I'll get my first deal in a few months. If you actually do it, it's going to happen. And I think that's the one thing I'll leave with everybody. Just commit and do what you say you're going to do.
I love that, man. Great
Yeah.
advice and super awesome to connect with you, brother. Appreciate you for
Likewise.
coming on. And
Yeah,
I know we'll be in touch. And for guys,
absolutely.
if you're listening to this, definitely go follow Dawson on the social platforms
Hmm.
and check out his website at houseflipseo.com.
Hmm.
And thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. Until next time, we will see you later. Episode in the books. Thank you guys again for listening. Before I let you go, I just wanted to invite you to our Facebook group, Virtual Deal Makers. It's a perfect place to connect and collaborate with other like-minded real estate investors. And All you have to do is simply search Virtual Deal Makers on Facebook and apply to join the group. Thanks again to our sponsor, Property Pros Marketing, for supporting the show. Go ahead and check them out at propertyprosmarketing.com to elevate your lead generation. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It really helps, and we greatly appreciate it. Share the podcast with your friends, and stay tuned for more valuable insights. Visit thevirtualmillionaires.com to see everything about the episode and connect with me. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, keep crushing those deals and building your real estate empire. This is Michael McDonald signing off from The Virtual Millionaire Show.